On this week's episode, Austin and Tim travel back in time over 100 years to December 9th, 1923, watching 6 silent movies. The hottest actress at the time, Mary Pickford, in the melodrama Rosita. Wallace Beery in Todd Browning's crime caper, The White Tiger. The Master of 1,000 Faces. Lon Chaney in the classic story, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Iconic silent film comedian Harold Lloyd in the wild comedy Why Worry. The legendary Buster Keaton performs breathtaking stunts in Our Hospitality. And before Charlton Heston, Cecil B. DeMille made the original silent epic, The Ten Commandments. Exquisite makeup jobs, unbelievable set design, jaw-dropping sight gags, heart-pounding stunts. Join us as we talk about the golden age of Hollywood at its finest, right here on Film Geek Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Geek Time Machine. I'm your host, Austin Kennedy.
How do I make jokes, Austin? I was going to try and make a silent film joke, but it's an audio format. I'm Tim Kaiser.
Oh, I was wondering who you were.
Shut up.
You started talking. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
You didn't say your name until 13 words in, so shut up.
Well, I have to say welcome to Film Geek Time
I said,
Machine.
fuck you.
Yay.
That's different.
Okay. Well, welcome to Film Geek Time Machine. This is the podcast where we go back in time with my time machine to see movies on random dates, or most of the time not random anymore. But whatever. It's fine.
A little under half, I think.
But it's
random.
fine.
Actually, maybe of the 16, maybe 3 of them are random.
Yeah. But as originally, but I also want to talk about certain movies and go to certain times. So, but still, the movies that we are picking are like kind of, we don't know until we actually look at the paper. And we're like, oh shit.
We've had a couple of times where it's like
I wanted to see Black Belt Jones.
Yeah,
but I didn't know the other movies.
And I wanted to see Best Years of Our Lives.
Yeah.
Those might be the only 2 true cheats. Okay.
So, and what I've said from the very beginning of the podcast, that we're going to go back anywhere from the 20s to the 90s. And we haven't gone back to the 20s yet.
We have now.
We have. We have gone back. At this point, it's just over 100 years. Yep. December 9th, 1923 is the date we went back in time to.
That time machine was having issues. At least I thought it was having issues, because when we got out of it, I could smell something. Yeah. And then I realized it was just 1923. Yeah. There's still fucking horses.
So.
Oh, everywhere. Nobody has cars.
One thing that we discovered, though, when we went back in time, because we're from Minnesota, we tried to go back to Minneapolis. Well, when we went back in time, there was like 2 theaters. And I'm like, where's all the movies? We can't really have a movie marathon. What I decided that we're going to do, we're like, well, let's go to the heart of where they make the movies. Hollywood. So Los Angeles is where we went.
Was Hollywood the place yet?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was still New York.
No. It was Hollywood at this point.
I thought it was actually more Berlin.
Oh, no. But, yeah, no, it was definitely Hollywood. And so, so we went to Los Angeles, back in the 20s, Los Angeles, because that's what they would say.
Oh, and that's why nobody could understand what I was saying.
Los Angeles, like, what the
fuck are you talking about?
Anyways, so we went back
you, future boy.
to L.A., which was really neat, in the heart of Hollywood. You know, the Grauman's Chinese Theater was there and everything, and it was just really cool to see that.
But there weren't anybody's footprints yet. Nobody had handprints out there.
No, it was interesting to go to that time period. So, we definitely had more choices to choose from. Obviously, this is the 20s. These are all silent movies. And it's interesting. So I went back, so I have Letterboxd, and I keep track of all the movies I've seen. I have a movie journal. And I haven't
done that because apparently I'm not nerd enough.
So I have seen about 60, just under 60 silent films.
Let's see here. How many did we see for this?
We saw 6.
6 in a short? I think I've seen like 8 silent movies.
Right.
And I'm counting the artist.
I'm not counting
which
shorts either.
I'm just say isn't a silent movie because he talks at the end, which cheats it.
Okay? Right. Oh, the artist? Right.
And the movie, silent movie.
Oh, yeah.
Also has talking.
One talking.
A great gag. A spectacular gag, but also not a silent movie then.
Last year, because at this point, you're like, you're not familiar with silent movies. I wanted you to kind of experience.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
Well, I wanted you to experience what a silent movie was like. So we have a local theater called the Heights Theater.
Yes.
And I took you last summer to go see Safety Last, Harold Lloyd in Safety Last, which also came out in 23.
But we didn't see it.
No, we didn't.
Need
well, that came out in the summer anyway, so that wasn't out. But anyways, we saw Safety Last with a live organ accompaniment on the Wurlitzer organ. It was awesome.
It was really cool.
It was really cool to see.
You had seen it before with a different guy doing the organ.
And it was kind of a different experience. It wasn't as good.
Which is why for this, we're not really going to talk very much about that because
they're different. And
it's going to be we went to different theaters.
And there's different
people.
Sometimes it was a full orchestra. Sometimes it was a guy on an organ.
Yeah,
it was different.
There were only people like humming or something. I don't know.
Like the guy on a piano. Yeah, it's interesting. So you would go and have a different experience depending on who the accompanist is.
Yeah.
It's interesting and sometimes if you watch them, because I've watched most of the silent movies I've seen, obviously were on DVD or Blu-ray, and there's some that, like, I watched a version of Nosferatu one time where...
Yeah, I've seen that. So, okay, well, count me up to like 9 movies now, okay?
So the Nosferatu, I saw the silent, and I've seen it before, but then I saw one version where the music was so bad that the movie, it ruined the film.
That is the whole weirdness.
And
as much as we're going to review these movies, we're not going to talk about the music.
It's hard to.
Because the music is more a review of the theater.
Yeah. That's right. We're going to talk about the actual film.
And we're going to try to disassociate ourselves from the music, which might have been great, might have been terrible, was mostly just there.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan. I actually like silent movies, and what I want to talk about too before we get started, silent movies, it's a totally different way of watching movies. If our listeners, if you haven't really seen that many silent movies, you can't half-ass watch it, be on your phone while you're at home, because if you seriously look away for 10 seconds and you look back, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Because we take notes.
You
take notes on your little...
Oh, yeah, sometimes I'll take notes on my
iPad. On your 1920s piece of paper. I'm taking my 2023
on your phone here. No, I do it. I write pen and paper on a notebook when I do it.
When I look down to do that and I look up, I'm like, shit, I should have done that because I don't know what the fuck just happened.
Yeah, it's crazy because everything is very visual. So everything is body language. And there are texts to explain things, mainly just major stuff, because some of the other things that people will be talking... You kind of have to figure it out yourself.
My inexperience with silent films, they did a lot more where the text wasn't people talking.
Yeah.
It was literally a description of, you need to know this for this scene.
Yeah.
Because we can't tell you, okay? We're just going to have to write it on the screen now.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, like, setup of the scenario or of what's going to happen in the scene, which is interesting. So we're looking at the paper right now. So we got... Here it is, Los Angeles Sunday Times, the Sunday Times. So there's a movie called Temporary Marriage, which had Mildred Davis, which was actually Harold Lloyd's wife.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting.
Also, Mrs. Harold Lloyd.
Mr. Harold Lloyd, and so this is
Harold
Turkey.
Lloyd. Oh, God.
So there was a Harold Lloyd short before that. There's The 11th Hour, which was a war film. Pirates, torpedoes, submarines, planes, speedboats, and love.
That could have been awesome.
That's a lost film, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, but we could have seen it.
We could have seen it.
We could have seen it. Shut up, Austin.
Let's see. These are plays. So they had plays out like Blossom Time, The Lady Killer, The Waning Sex. These are all plays. We have Richard Dix in The Call of the Canyon. We did see Richard Dix in another movie that we'll talk about later.
But this is a Zane Grey.
Yeah, Zane Grey.
My grandfather... Or some family members, some older male family members would read the shit out of those Zane Grey books.
What is that? So I'm not familiar with them. What are they?
Road westerns and just shit tons of the goddamn things. And they would make movies out of them because they sold, and so people would go see them. And I think because they're westerns, and because as anybody who would have any idea about what we're watching here, let's see, from 1923. Although we didn't watch any westerns in this, but they existed, as we can see right there.
Right.
Until, I don't know, 1984. They just always had western sets.
I would say,
if you need to make a western, it'll be dirt cheap because we got a town right there with western shit for you. So with horses and everything.
This other one we're looking at is The Virginian, which actually didn't open until tomorrow night. So that's why we didn't see it.
That is another western, would appear.
That is a western. We had
There's another one
called Ponjola.
This is amazing how many movies there were.
Yeah. So this is at the Alhambra Theater called, I have no idea what Ponjola is.
It's a lot harder for us to find the movies on here because as the years go on in newspapers, you can go to like a 2-page spread and it shows you, here's the movies, what theaters to go to see these movies and stuff. It's in the entire newspaper. You got to look for ads. Because the different theaters would have to take out an ad.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is then Reno was the other one we didn't see. So the Port of Missing Mates, Reno.
That sounds like yet another Western, maybe.
It says laugh-making comedy.
I guess
so
not.
I don't think it is.
Because it was Reno. I assumed it had something to do with Reno, but apparently it doesn't look
All
like
right,
it.
so the movies that we did go see, though, so we saw, and so I've seen a lot of silent movies, so I have seen 4 of these features before.
Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah. But one of them I haven't seen since I was like 5 or 6.
Okay,
but
and one of them was Hunchback, which I assume you've seen a bunch of times.
No, that was the one I haven't seen since I was 5. But anyways,
okay. Well, okay.
So the first movie we saw was Rosita with Mary Pickford, very popular star at the time.
You've seen before.
I have not seen this one before, and I also haven't seen the other one, which was White Tiger, which was their second movie that we saw, and that is Todd Browning directed it, who went on to direct Freaks and Dracula, the Bela Lugosi. So, and this had Wallace Beery in it, who was a popular star at this point. Lon Chaney in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, I watched this. My dad would always tape stuff off of PBS. And this was on PBS, and he taped it, and he's like, you should watch this silent movie. I want to say it was either this movie or Charlie Chaplin's The Gold Rush, or the first 2 silent films I've seen.
This is one of those silent pictures that is still talked about.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Lon Chaney was fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, he went on 2 years later to do Phantom of the Opera, which is probably his most famous one.
Yes.
Then we saw Harold Lloyd's Why Worry, which had a short beforehand, which I thought was really excited. So I'm a big Harold Lloyd fan anyways. Hal Roach was a producer who went on to produce Laurel and Hardy features and films.
We don't have Laurel and Hardy.
No.
We have Laurel.
So Stan Laurel, silent short. So this was 4 years before Laurel and Hardy became a team.
4 years.
4 years.
How old was he?
I want to say he was like 33 here.
Oh, okay.
Stan was. So Stan Laurel. It's called Frozen Hearts. It was like a 25-minute short, and we'll I guess I'll get more to talk about that.
One reel? That was one thing I wanted to ask.
2 reels. One reel. So a reel is roughly about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So 2 reels is like a 20-minute.
They can squeak out to be a little longer than that to make a 25-minute thing.
Yep.
Okay.
So Why Worry is Harold Lloyd with Frozen Hearts. Then we saw Buster Keaton in Our Hospitality. We've ended the evening with, it was a big presentation of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Cecil B. DeMille, he directed the 56 version. That's the one that's very.
He made the actual remake.
Yep, but
it was very late in his life because he didn't make a lot of stuff after that.
No, he didn't. And but this was and he was pretty prominent at this point making films, and so this was 10 Commandments.
In the ad on here, it's one of the. I'm trying to see if there was any other times where they actually. Yeah, this says Sesame DeMille production.
Yeah. It says it would be worth it, a trip to Egypt, but you only have to go to Hollywood.
This has a
to see the
Rosita is an
ship.
Ernest something production.
Well, that's the director, Ernest Lubitsch.
Yeah, so the other ones do mention their director.
Yep.
Okay, that is a weird ad for 10 Commands because once we get to it, it's not what I expected.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. Those are the films that we saw. So let's go right into it. I guess the first one is Rosita, and that is starring Mary Pickford. Now, this is my second.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mary Pickford was the biggest draw in the 20s, correct?
She's one of them, for sure. Absolutely.
The biggest female draw.
I would say so, yeah. Absolutely. In fact, her, Douglas Fairbanks, who she married, and Charlie Chaplin, they founded United Artists.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But there she is, Rosita. Now, I saw another movie with her in it called My Best Girl, and that was in 1927. I actually saw that at the Heights with Live Oregon accompaniment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
That's cool.
It was really good.
Well, here's the thing.
She's really
I think
good
from what I have read about Mary Pickford, her movies aren't really lost because she herself always had a copy of them.
Yeah.
Except for this one. She didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
And so she didn't have a copy of this. This was thought to be lost.
Yeah.
Until like the 60s or something.
Yeah. And they found it.
Real horseshit copy.
Well, that's the thing. Back in the 20s and even the 30s, they didn't really know what the value of film was at this point.
It was just like early television. They would just tape over stuff, not expecting anybody in 100 years to give one shit about it. Like, people love Dr.
So I would say, I forgot where I read it, and I should look it up to actually find the actual percentage, but there is a percentage of silent films that are lost, and it's like over half.
Oh, I thought it was like 90%.
I don't think it's that high, but
it's not being we had the option to see. We could have seen some other movies.
Yeah, there was.
And kept in our rules.
So Rosita, so this is a period piece film, though it wasn't really clear what time period it was set in. It never really said.
I didn't see cars, but they had guns. They might have been musket loading guns. They weren't really clear.
And they were talking about blanks, so they can do blanks.
They can do blanks.
Yeah. This is this was a weird movie.
It was weird.
It was weird because it's hard to really categorize it
It's weird because I think a lot of people, modern day people, would assume if you went back in time to see all these silent movies, they would just be shittier silent versions of movies we've already seen. And I'm like, I've never seen a fucking movie with this plot. Yeah. This plot's very interesting.
Yeah. So it takes place in Seville, which they didn't really say the country, but apparently, according to the Wikipedia, it's the King of Spain, which I didn't Seville. Oh, Seville's an actual. I'm an idiot. I'm not cultured, so let me tell you.
Like, I was wondering what you're talking about.
I don't know Seville.
Seville's an actual place, dude.
The Barber of Seville. Yeah. Okay,
that's not just a cartoon.
That's all I know from the Rabbit of Seville, right? Okay, the king, he's kind of like this playboy guy that seems to be having a bunch of chicks.
I'm sorry, he's a king.
Yeah.
I think they're all the fucking same.
It's good to be the king.
I'm going to tell you right now, King George.
Yeah.
Piece of shit. Okay.
What this king does is he hears about like, in the city of Seville, there's all this debauchery going on. And he's like, like him and his like second in command are looking at each other like they have that look like we're gonna go bang some eyes.
A priest shows up, says, I'm gonna go to Seville and try to set that city straight because it's full of hotties that'll suck your dick. What? Okay. Oh, can I come?
So they go and they're incognito. They're wearing masks, and then it's kind of like
actually there were numerous people wearing masks. I didn't know if that was just a Seville thing or something.
Well, so there's the town, whatever they call her, harlot Rosita, played by Mary Pickford.
She was just singing and
right. She was singing and dancing and stuff.
The king is.
Right. So she sings.
Looking super hot doing it.
Right. She's singing these like folk songs that are like, pretty much protest songs about the king, And
this is one of the weird things about silent movies.
Yeah.
Okay. She was singing. And stuff, and I'm like.
You don't know what melody it was.
Also, before she sang, they had other titles that were just a description of what Rosita is.
Yeah.
Who this character is and stuff. And then her song, and we both were like...
Is this the song or is this a description?
Is this more of the description or is this the actual lyrics?
Right.
They all had quotes around them.
Yeah.
I didn't know, okay?
No, right. So he figured halfway through, and I'm like, okay, she's singing now. Anyway, so she's singing about the king, but the king, it's so funny because he doesn't care what she's singing about. He's just like, she's super hot. Yeah. But anyways, the Kingsmen take her away.
They arrest her.
Oh, yeah. For singing against the king.
At one point, the tax people showed up, but that didn't seem to actually be a plot point.
So, they like arrest her pretty much. Yeah. But then there's this guy that shows up, Don Diego. And you find out that he is a officer of the king.
He's Zorro.
Right.
His name is the same exact fucking name as Zorro.
He
gets in a sword fight and beats the fucking dude in a sword.
Right.
He's fucking Zorro.
So he's just like, why are you harassing this lady? I'm going, you gentlemen, this is rude. The king's guard is like, well, I'm going to challenge you to a duel, and Don Diego kills him. He gets arrested, so they're both arrested. But as they're arrested, they're like talking to each other through the jail cells, going, and I think they definitely fell in love with each other for sure.
Thanks for saving me. Is your dick as hard as that sword? It is, isn't it? She doesn't say all these things. Only make the movie better.
Right.
It's a fine movie, but it would be much better if it was much more open about, I'm gonna fuck your bones right now.
So Diego thinks, he's pretty sure, he's like, I'll be out tomorrow because I'm, I'm a king's officer.
He has like a note that says, you literally cannot do this to me.
Yeah.
I'm Captain Diego.
Yeah.
Literally a note from like my superior that says, don't fuck with Captain Diego. Okay.
So what happens?
No matter how many people he kills.
So what happens is Rosita gets released, right? And Rosita, but then she's escorted to the king's castle, but the king got her out because he wants to, have her. But then the queen kind of shows up, and there's like, it was like, what are you doing here? And then, the king's plans are kind of thwarted or whatever, foiled. But then, anyways, the king goes to Rosita's family, and Rosita's family is really weird. They're, like the dad's hitting the kids.
Yeah. They are full white trash.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you would be known as trailer park trash.
I guess they're Latino trash.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
The king's man comes and says, "Hey, we got a villa for you because the king wants to."
Yeah, here's a fucking mansion. Have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, here's servants.
Right.
Because you're hot, but your mom terrifies me.
We find out Diego's going to be sentenced to death. The thing is, Rosita's mom shows up to the king and says, hey, I want Rosita to be respected, so I want her to be married off to someone, that's notable. And he's like, okay, well, you can marry this officer that I'm about to kill, then she'll be a widow.
Well, he doesn't say that to her. He just says,
no, right.
I know exactly who she married.
Right.
That's fine. After the mother leaves, he goes, marry her to this dude, and then we'll kill him the next day.
But he didn't realize that they were in love. So then they get married.
Didn't care.
No, right.
Okay.
So no. So they get married, but then blindfolded, so they didn't know.
Yeah,
who
that scene was one of the coolest things.
It was really weird.
They were married, but they were both wearing required blindfolds, so they couldn't see who they were marrying.
So then when they reveal themselves, like she just takes off her blindfolds and takes his off, and then
I mean,
then they're very happy, but then she
shit, you're that hottie.
Well, then she begs to the king that please don't kill him. I'll do whatever you want, and he's like, oh yeah, well okay, I'll sign the pardon.
We're gonna have to act like we're killing him.
Yep, we're acting like we're killing him, so we'll put blanks in there, sure. And then she leaves, and he turns to his guy, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna kill him because I didn't realize, so he must die because she's in love with him.
She's in love with him, and I'm a piece of shit.
Right. So spoiler alerts, of course.
Irritatingly realistic.
Right.
Okay?
But then, the thing's going to happen, and she's laughing because she doesn't think it's going to happen.
She's so pleased.
But then the king's guard or whatever says, you know what? He is going to die. And then she's like, no. And then he gets shot, he goes down. But you find out later on, in a twist, the queen canceled the order of not putting blanks in it, but putting...
Yeah.
So the blanks are still in there. He's still alive.
But my favorite scene in this, my absolute favorite, possibly... in all of the movies we're going to talk about today, is when the king shows up after he believes that her husband has been killed. And she has that fucking look on her face. Yeah. And they're like eating. Oh, yeah. And she's like, I believe she's just going to kill the king.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
She's 100%. Her entire plan is, you killed the guy I actually like. And you're fucking human trash. Right. I sang songs about how much human trash you were earlier in this movie. I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, that was like the scene where Mary Pickford was pretty good in this. In that scene, I'm like, Mary Pickford's pretty fucking good at that.
She was really good at that scene.
She was really fucking good.
So, yeah. So then they end up happily ever after. And it's kind of like, I do like the last little bit when the king goes into the carriage with the queen. The queen's just like, not this time. Foiled his plans.
In some ways, it was like the opposite of Roman scandals. Yes. Where the queen was trying to kill the king. Yeah. And then the food taster ate that thing and he goes, oh, maybe it'll work next time.
So the movie, it's all right. It has some really cool shots. And the sets are really great.
There's some really cool stuff. Yeah. I don't know if any of these movies have a moving camera shot in any of them.
There is a couple. Ten Commandments.
But in the end of this, they cheat that scene. Yeah. Where they're leaving, and then you can see out the side of the carriage.
Well, it looks like they moved the tree.
You can tell that they moved the trees to make it look like the camera's
that
moving.
was really cool.
It was cool, because it was the way they had to fucking do it.
So as the melodrama's going, you kind of have to. Obviously, silent movie, you have to figure out what's happening, what's going on.
It wasn't that hard.
But Rosita, I felt like, even though it was interesting what was happening, I wasn't really cheering or rooting for anyone so much, I guess.
Yeah,
they didn't establish. I don't think they established Rosita enough.
As much as the movie is called Rosita, I was more cheering for the dude in prison.
Oh yeah, Diego.
Okay? He was the guy I found the actually tragedy. She became fucking rich. Oh my, what a horrible life now that she has a fucking mansion and servants.
I haven't seen... Obviously, so this is my second movie with Mary Pickford. So the first movie I saw was My Best Girl. It was like a screwball comedy, and it was funny. Like
that might be why she doesn't like this movie, because I think it's very different from
it is very, and my guess is it is. And I don't think, not that she's bad in this movie, but I don't think it 100% showcases her talents, and that's why she probably doesn't like it as much, because I don't think it. She has really good comedic timing, but this isn't really a comedy. Even though every once in a while there's something
a little bit. It's like when she would do the singing and dancing stuff, you could see her comedy chops were in there.
And some of they threw in a little bit of comedy, like when
her family was more funny.
Right. When her family, they all pile into the stagecoach. Yeah, that was funny. And then the fucking dog comes in there.
I don't know how that thing fucking moved.
Well, the horses were really straining on that.
That shitty-ass carriage had literally 12 people in it. I don't know how the thing fucking moved.
Yeah, it was pretty melodramatic. I'm glad I saw it, and I thought it had some really neat stuff, but it isn't something that I feel like that I would ever revisit. So I'm at a 2.5 on it.
I'm going to give it 3, actually.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of... Granted, I've never seen a Mary Pickford film. So it might be that if I saw her comedies and I'm like, this is a weird thing, but this is the only one I've ever seen. So now in my brain, this is what Mary Pickford's like.
There were some really cool shots that I want to mention. I did really like, there's a shot where the queen was spying on Rosita and the king. She has like this little mirror that was like about the size of like a silver dollar. And she like goes like this, and you could see she's holding the mirror, and then you can see in the shot.
Yeah,
that was really cool looking.
I liked one of the shots where I think it was her and the king, or like her and somebody were walking next to like a pond, and it had this great mirror.
Yep.
It was just
that was really neat,
beautiful.
And this is directed by Ernest Lubitsch, who went on to be a pretty famous director in the 30s and 40s. He directed Nenoshka, and then with Greta Garbo, and then he directed To Be or Not to Be, The Shop Around the Corner. So yeah,
it's cool. The guy obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I think he does. Our next movie is White Tiger. This one is
this one also has a plot that you've never fucking heard of in your entire life.
This is weird. Yeah, it's a crime. So it's a crime film. And Wallace Beery's in a supporting role, but he was a pretty big star at this point. He was already in like Last of the Mohicans, I think, in 1920. Oh, okay. And he went on to be in The Champ in 1932. But he was acting in movies up in
The Champ. Okay.
Yeah, from the early 30s.
That's what with the kid.
Yeah, and the boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they remade it with John Voight and Ricky Schroeder in 79. But this is the crime film. It's weird because it's about like
this also has a headliner is Priscilla Dean.
Oh yeah.
Another female headliner. That's cool.
So it's interesting because
even though I didn't consider her the star of the movie.
No. So this one is it's weird. So it starts off with like this guy who has like 2 kids, and he's friends with Wallace Beery, who's this count guy or whatever. They kind of are in crime. They rob stuff. But what happens is the cops come to arrest them, and then the kids they escape. But the thing is, Wallace Beery sold them out. Now, because of that, the father dies.
They go to like 2 different orphanages.
Yeah.
Or something.
Well, right. Well, they think that they killed the little the son or whatever. They think.
Did they both think their sibling was dead?
Yes,
that what happened?
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yep. So then go like 10, 15 years later, they're grown up now, and now they're. They think
they're both famous criminals.
Yes. Yeah. So, you do pickpocket, but yeah. So Wallace Beery is with the daughter, and he kind of raised her as his own. But then they do kind of meet the brother.
He meets his sister.
Yeah.
Luckily, he's gay because he never hits on her. Because he hits on like every other woman in this movie.
That's right. Yeah.
But he never hits on the only one he's blood related to.
Right. Which I was wondering if that was gonna happen. I'm like, is he gonna? I don't know.
I was like, it doesn't seem to happen.
Right.
I kept expecting that to happen.
So they end up teaming up together, the 3 of them, and they start doing this heist. So what the guy's been doing, the brother, he's been swindling people. They have this like electric chess player, like an automaton.
It's called in reality, it was called the Mechanical Turk.
Right. So it's the automaton.
They would fake people in reality with Mechanical Turk.
Yes.
Where you could play it in chess.
Yes.
And there would be a person actually inside of it.
Yeah.
Who would be doing the.
And that's the brother, and he's like stuck in this little box.
But here's the thing: I thought that it would in the Mechanical Turk.
Yeah.
I thought the chess pieces would move, but in this, it just has like a humanoid. Like robot figure that points to the piece and then points to where it goes,
and then
you have to move it.
Yeah.
Is that what the Mechanical Turk was like?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I thought
I mean, in this thing, whenever it points, you can't tell what it's pointing at. You
right.
just have to assume that they can see better than you can. Okay?
So I thought that was interesting. So Wallace Beery and the sister they see that, and they're like, and they kind of talk him into doing this heist in this.
Well, he was the dude.
Yeah.
The main dude is the guy who was inside the
brother,
the mechanical thing.
Yeah. So
they don't ever call it the Mechanical Turk,
right?
But that's really what.
So they get the brother to like do this. So they have this Mechanical Turk going. While that's going on, their heist is happening somewhere else. They're trying to break into the safe. What happens is they get kind of caught doing this, and so then they end up going on the run. And they find some other dude that likes the sister or something.
I'm not sure who that guy was.
Yeah.
He becomes a major plot guy, and I'm like, where'd this guy come from?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell just happened.
Anyways, they go to like, is it like Antarctica? Or do they go somewhere?
The mountains, maybe?
They go to the mountains and to hide out, pretty much.
I thought it was the mountains.
Right. Then you find out, like, for some reason or somehow, the brother finds out who Wallace Beery really is. He's the guy that sold out his father. So it kind of turns into a little bit of a revenge movie.
Well, that's in like the last 8 minutes.
Yeah, right.
It's real fast.
So I thought
they actually, as far as I could tell, they didn't even know each other's names.
No.
And then the moment they found out their names, holy shit, you're my sister. Holy shit,
right.
you're my brother. And I'm like, wait, you've been in this movie for the last hour and a half. You never mentioned each other's fucking names.
I thought that the first half of the film was interesting. I thought that the first half, when with the double cross and the stuff with the automaton, I thought was really cool. And I actually really liked Raymond Griffith, who played the brother. And Priscilla Dean was actually pretty good too.
Yeah, I thought they were both
But
great.
Wallace Beery, he was the villain of it, and he's just he's just has this great screen presence. I think he's really good. I feel like once the heist goes bad and they run off to the mountains, that's where the movie loses me.
And I'm going to tell you, that's like the second half of the movie.
It is.
And it drags.
It does. And it doesn't...
Until, like I said, like the last 8 minutes where it turns into this
Right.
revenge thing. And I'm like, that means there's a solid 35 minutes where nothing fucking happens.
Right.
And they are actively trying to make sure you know that they're bored by boring the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, they're just trying to, I don't know, do dances and do all kinds of things while they're stuck in the cabin.
I get that you're bored, okay? Don't make me want to die, okay? Don't bore me to
So again, this was by Todd Browning. There really isn't, at least for me, not anything in this movie that was great as far as direction. It was a competently made film.
I think I could tell this was early.
Todd Browning.
The first movie was better directed because it had much better camera.
I think Rosita was better directed.
The acting is great. Mary Pickford was great. The King was great in the first one.
Oh, the King.
The Queen was awesome. Actually, the mother was awesome. Actually, everybody's pretty awesome.
I forgot about going back to Rosita real quick. I really I got to find his name, but the guy who played the King was Holbrook Blinn.
Yeah.
He looked like a Oliver Reed.
He
looked like Oliver Reed, I thought. But he was really good.
He was scummy. His assistant dude, that dude was fucking slimy.
Skeevy looking.
I loved how slimy he was.
But anyways, we would rather talk about that movie than this one. This one,
here's the thing, like you said though, the first half, it's really fun.
It's interesting.
It's really fun. I like the plot. You're right, though. It isn't particularly made amazingly.
No. But no, and I was curious to see where it was going to go because you're like, okay, this guy's going to go after...
And they're brother and sister because we know that.
Yeah. But then when we...
Because I think they told us.
Right.
I think it literally tells us
they did.
subtitle.
Oh, they did. But then the revelation when it happens, like the last little part of it is interesting. But yeah, there's like 40 minutes in here where it's just like, it just drags and it's not interesting to watch. And I'm going to give it a 2.
I'm going to say, here's the weird thing. I would say this movie was like, the first half is like a 3-star movie.
I would say
but
so.
then it turns into like a 1-star movie. So I'm going to go 2 also.
Oh, yeah.
It's
2.
really, that second half is really boring.
Right.
Which means you can get a good little nap in. Because it's going to bore you. And if you sleep for 15 minutes, you wake up, you're like, what did I miss? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in 15 minutes.
When I started watching it, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And when the dad dies in the beginning, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah,
they killed him.
Yeah, it's actually, it really feels like it's going to be cool as hell.
Yeah.
And then it just turns into not very cool.
Because then the automaton, you're like, cool. But when the brother's stuck in that box, though. I mean that's so claustrophobic.
Here's the thing.
My God.
Actually, so maybe it wasn't that badly made because I could tell when he was in there that it was cramped.
Yeah, it was claustrophobic.
And it was a good shot there.
No, those are good shots, I think so.
Yeah, those were good shots.
Next movie, while we're zipping through here we go.
Well, we got Hunchback.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Here's the weird thing. I have the most things to say about the final movie. So
I
have the most to say about this one because you've seen it more than once.
So, this is my second time seeing this, and I was really into movies as a kid, and my dad was always trying to get me to watch different things. Like, oh, he likes movies, let's see if we so he taped this off of PBS for me, and I watched it. And there was a series of books at the library. They're like monster books, and one of them was Hunchback, and they had this in there. So he was
this is a Universal film.
Yeah,
some people consider this the first Universal monster.
Yeah,
absolutely. Even though, and here's the thing.
Yeah,
they can count Frankenstein as a monster film, even though the monster is called the monster.
Yeah,
but he's the victim in that movie.
Absolutely.
And the Hunchback is fully the victim in this movie.
Yeah,
so it works just as fine.
It does.
Well, but I'm going to tell you, he looks equally as fantastic as Frankenstein's monster.
Oh yeah,
he looks so fucking. The fact that he can look like that, and I'm like, that isn't what he looked like because that looks fucking legit.
It's pretty cool. So I've seen. I'm trying to think if I've seen different versions. So obviously there's the Disney one that came out in '96.
Yes,
I saw the 1939 with Charles Laughton. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, really?
It's really good.
No, the only other one I've seen is the Disney one.
And then I saw when I was a kid, there was a TV-made one that had Anthony Hopkins playing Quasimodo.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong.
That actually sounds like pretty good acting.
But
Hopkins
I want to say it was the early 80s. Yeah,
is good actor.
He is.
And he can probably hunch over pretty good. Because he's not tall.
Yeah, this one, Lon Chaney. The imagery of his makeup is incredible. So this is the classic story of the Hunchback, which Quasimodo is this disfigured person, and he's deaf, he's half blind, and he lives in the Tower of Notre Dame, and he's kind of kept...
the bell ringer.
Oh, yeah, he's the bell ringer. And everyone knows that that's the bell ringer. In fact, they have this Festival of Fools, and I think they kind of always get him down to do the Festival of Fools.
In every version of this movie that has happened.
And they make him the king of the fools, and he's happy. Esmeralda, who's the gypsy lady dancer, she feels sorry for him, even though she's repulsed by him at times.
But she's not a horrible person.
She's not a horrible person.
She doesn't want to fuck him.
No.
But she can like him still.
Yeah. So she's just like, oh, just leave him alone.
That happens to me a lot, by the way.
Oh. So...
I'm crying.
So there's two, but his master is Jihan, who's the evil brother of the saintly of the priest that's in Notre Dame. So he's like this the brother. He's the evil brother that controls Quasimodo. Well, he has a thing for Esmeralda, and he has Quasimodo attempt to kidnap her.
Yeah,
and then he fails, and he gets arrested. But then he's gonna be made an example of, where they whip him in the square, and even Esmeralda, she goes and still brings him water while he's being flogged.
Yeah,
which is, I think that scene was really great.
Yeah, this movie's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, I think it's solid.
Austin, I'm going to show you all my notes for this movie.
He looks amazing.
That's about it. Because I just fucking watched the movie.
Yeah, no, I think I did the same thing. It's pretty cool. And then of course there's the love interest too, because you have whoever the guy, captain of the guard, he ends up falling in love with Esmeralda, and
that's another thing that has to happen in every version.
Right.
Okay?
But
Esmeralda does still get laid.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
But then there's the big finale with Jian trying to get Esmeralda, and Quasimodo rescues her, and he brings her into the church for sanctuary, and the guards are after him and all that stuff. I think this is a really solid movie. Now, when we went back in time to LA, if you look at the ads, we actually, since we were doing a movie marathon, we didn't have time to do this, but we could have taken a tour of the sets of this movie. After this movie was done, they actually offered a tour on the Universal lot to see.
We already had a date for more movies.
That's right. The sets in this are incredible. I think the set pieces are really good. Like when he actually is climbing. When he's climbing the building of Notre Dame.
That's where I'm confused how they pulled off some of that shit in the fucking 20s.
And he's swinging around and he grabs her and you're like, holy shit, how did they do that?
Yeah.
No, I thought that was good. I think Esmeralda is really good, but I really, really, really like the actor who played Jihan, which is Brandon Hurst. He was the villain, and he was really skeevy, really good.
But here's the whole problem. Because at the end of this episode, we're going to have to get best actor and all that stuff. It's still fucking Lon Chaney.
Yeah.
Okay? Lon Chaney shows up and you're like, well, never mind, all the other
Lon Chaney does this weird thing, and I kind of liked it, but he does this weird thing with Quasimodo where he kept on sticking out his tongue. It was like a lizard.
Here's the thing, Quasimodo's a freak, okay?
But no, I think, it was a really cool production. Like I said, had really good sets, and it's genuinely has some really creepy stuff going on in the movie, and really great visuals.
It's fantastic looking.
Yeah. No,
I'm wondering.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
It's one of those things where I'm wondering, you were a freakish child, okay? Because you wanted to see shit like this.
Yes, I did.
When I was a kid, you would have had to tie me down.
Oh, I loved this when I was a kid,
silent movie all the way through. I was like, this movie's like an hour and 50 minutes, dude.
Yeah. It's pretty long.
It's long.
The thing is, not before this, I guess in between, about 10 years ago, I saw the 39 version. That's the best version that I've seen.
Oh, okay.
It's phenomenal.
That sounds awesome.
It's so well directed, and really.
Is it one of those movies that's called in color?
No, it's black and white.
Okay, that's fine too.
It's Charles Lawton.
Could have been color.
And Charles Lawton plays Quasimodo, and it's awesome. So compared to that, this one isn't quite as good, but it is still a solid adaptation of Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's a 3 for me. So.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5.
Ooh, you really liked it.
This movie is a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
I just like Lon Chaney in this. Every time he's on screen, you're like, how the fuck is this possible? This is hard to do now,
right?
To make somebody that looks that fantastic, and he would just do it himself.
Yes.
Lon Chaney. This is the only time I've ever seen Lon Chaney Sr. Lon Chaney Jr., not really a junior. He changed his name for movie sake and all that shit.
Right.
But, yeah, the original Lon Chaney, this is I think the only time I've seen him. There aren't that many. There's this, I think you said Phantom.
Yeah, so I've seen another one.
Ton of other ones.
Saw another one called, I think it's called Laugh Crown.
There's one where he plays a guy without legs, and he just strapped his legs down and walks around on his fucking knees.
No.
And I'm like, how the fuck?
So I believe I guess I'll look at his filmography here to get. I think I saw a movie called Laugh Clown Cry. Cry.
God damn it! Look at that filmography.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit! He made like 12 movies a fucking year.
Laugh Clown Laugh. I saw that, and that was pretty good.
Is this the only sound movie he did, The Unholy Three?
Yeah. Yep. He did The Unholy Three. It was his only sound that he made. But
then, when did he die? Did he die 30?
Well, let's take a look. He died in 1930. Yes, at age 47, which is how old I am now.
Oh, sorry, Austin. sorry to hear that. You do know people live longer now.
Yes, yeah.
Also, you didn't ever strap your legs down to walk around your knees. Okay. Also, I'm sorry. Is he wearing makeup in that picture?
I'm sure he is.
I hope he is, because he looks fucking terrifying. Oh, Jesus Christ, does he look scary?
Well, they did a
movie. Go to the
movie.
Wikipedia page, everybody.
So they did
the picture on there is terrifying.
So Lon Chaney's, is pretty known for doing like Phantom of the Opera and stuff. They made a movie on him. I want to say James Cagney played him in The Man of a Thousand Faces, I think is the name of the movie.
That sounds very possible, and I bet you.
Yeah, there it is. Man of a Thousand Faces,
I'm gonna say,
portrayed by James Cagney.
That sounds cool, but also Cagney kind of acts the same.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've loved him, and I'm like, he still is acting like Cagney.
I honestly don't know how good that movie would be, but now I'm interested in seeing it. When is it? 57? We can go time travel.
I think we might be. We might see that movie.
We might have to do that
if it ever pops up on a thing. We're gonna go. Well, we're seeing that
for sure. Absolutely. All right.
Although we've also had other times where like we used that movie and then we couldn't fit it in. So
now we're getting into my bread and butter because I am a big fan of silent slapstick comedy.
And
so
that's the next three things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Why Worry is the next movie, but before that there was a Stan Laurel short. So I gotta talk a little bit about Stan Laurel before Hardy. So Stan Laurel, he did vaudeville and stuff in England, and he migrated over on the same boat with Charlie Chaplin, and they even roomed together at some point.
Oh, wow.
And at one point, he was in a vaudeville production, he was Charlie Chaplin's understudy.
Why didn't he go with the Universal Pictures thing then?
I don't know. So
because he obviously kind of had it in.
Yeah. I guess he had a hard time figuring out like what he wanted to do, and he finally got into films in 1917, I believe, is when he started doing movies. Chaplin was doing films like 1913 and 14. So he started doing these films. He really wanted to be like a next Chaplin, like Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd. So really, if you talk about like the three big silent stars of the 20s, it's Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and there's Harold Lloyd. And those are the three big silent stars. Stan Laurel really wanted to do that, and he was struggling to do it. After we get into this movie a little bit, I'll go into what I think the reason is why. So he did a lot of stuff, and he even acted almost accidentally in 1920 or 1921 in a movie called Lucky Dog with Hardy in a small supporting role.
So that was when they met?
Yeah, they met on the set of that.
Did Hardy have a career before also?
Yeah.
His own thing?
He did, but he was never a star, where Stan Laurel was the star of this picture.
Yeah.
Oliver Hardy was more of just a character actor.
Okay.
That he would be the villain in something, he would be in a melodrama, then he'd be in a comedy. So he would do everything.
Oh, okay.
And arguably, I think Oliver Hardy is actually the better actor because I think he was more versatile. Where Stan Laurel was just, he's the comedy guy.
When you were saying all those things, yeah. I guess maybe it's just because I haven't seen it, but I can't see Stan
doing like serious stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think so either. I mean, maybe he could. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyways,
I'm sure in real life he had emotions and stuff.
So this is called Frozen Hearts. Stan Laurel. So I haven't seen this. I've only seen a small handful.
You haven't seen this?
I have not. I've seen a small handful of his shorts.
Who are you, Austin Kennedy?
I actually have. I have a DVD or Blu-ray collection called Stan and Ollie without each other. It's called Stan and Ollie, but it's not with each other. So one disc is Oliver Hardy shorts by himself, and the other one is...
There is Oliver Hardy shorts.
Right, but he's the supporting character. He's not,
okay. They are shorts that he just happens to be in.
Yeah,
okay.
and then there's Stan Laurel shorts. This wasn't on that Blu-ray, so I've never seen this
weird.
one. Yeah, so it was really cool to watch.
Okay.
So this actually takes place in Russia, of all places.
That is weird.
Yeah,
that was different.
It was a weird setting to have
really
this comedy in.
Oh, shit, this takes place... And I'm like, this is after the revolution.
Yeah.
But this takes place before the Russian Revolution.
So Stan is a peasant, and he falls in love with one of the ladies around. And But there is a guard. I love the names in this, by the way. Count Alexis Pivovich.
I think this thing, a lot of the gag in this is, these are fake Russian names.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So Pivovich is after this girl. So he's like...
General Stopovich.
Right. But he's just like, hey, I can make you rich. You come with me to the castle. So she kind of agrees. And he's just like, I wish we could be together. And then they start kissing. And then he gets discovered. And then he's like running away and stuff. So then the Pivovich it looks like he's about to stab Stan. But then it goes off frame. And she's Stan wearing Pivovich's outfit. So he got away. And I thought he killed him, but he just beat him up because he shows up later.
Didn't kill him,
No. But anyway, so they show up at this big Russian palace or whatever. He's trying to get his girl back. James Finlayson, who is a very, to Laurel and Hardy fans, he was almost the third Laurel and Hardy member because he was in tons of Laurel and Hardy movies. Okay. And he always plays the foil, and he's known for saying, "Doe," which Homer took. So from James Finlayson. So that's where the dough comes from, is from James Finlayson.
Lawsuits.
But he was very famous for doing this, and he didn't really do it in this one, but he does this like double take, and James Finlayson's really good at that. Anyways, he plays the villain in this, the foil, who also is trying to go after the peasant girl Sonia. There ends up being a big, huge sword fight at the end of the movie in the snow in front of this big fountain, and then the other guy shows up, Pivovich shows up, James Finlayson and the Pivovich guy. Oh, Finlayson's character's name, Sapovich, General Sapovich.
Well, there's also Kick Turnoff.
Yeah, Kick Turnoff.
Kick Turnoff.
Kick Tumoff? Kick Tumoff. Anyways, that stands. Yeah.
Tumoff. No, yeah, it looks like an RN, but you're right.
But yeah, but then it ends with Stan with the girl again. Now, obviously, when you watch it, so Laurel and Hardy, they're iconic. Now, Stan, I think, is really funny in this movie.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
In this, I thought he was funny, but he did seem like just a copy of the other guys.
No, exactly.
It's not really his own thing.
So no, I agree. And this is where I think why he didn't make it. Okay, you got I'm going to just go to the three guys. Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd. All three of them have very distinct, specific personas.
But I think in this, he's just trying to be Harold Lloyd.
And
Harold
Stan,
Lloyd ripoff, right?
Right.
Is that what you're feeling?
Well, anything. Like, because the thing is with Stan's personality and his persona, from film to film of the films that I've seen, they're not consistent.
Oh, okay.
Like, sometimes he's smart, sometimes he's dim-witted, sometimes he's aggressive,
that's probably
sometimes
why it
he's
got better. Because when you get to Laurel and Hardy, they each have their own role.
Oh, yeah, he is when he is Stan Laurel and Laurel and Hardy, he is a very specific character throughout the entire time. And so it's interesting watching his silent films to see him trying to find himself. Obviously, he's super talented because the comic timing and some of these gags that he does is terrific.
They're fantastically humorous.
He's always like falling through doorways. Like the scene when he kisses the girl and then he walks backwards saying goodbye and he falls back off the balcony. It was like, holy shit.
But that's why I'm like, that seems more Harold Lloyd-y to me.
Right.
That stuff.
Well,
that's not the stuff Stan Laurel would do.
No, he's doing the typical kind of like all three of those. Buster Keaton would do like these
Laurel's comedy to me has always felt like face comedy.
It is.
In this, it's slapsticky.
It's absolutely comedy. Like Charlie Chaplin. It's like rip-offs of those, all three of those guys. And but it's really fun to watch, and I love that fight scene between James Finlayson and him at the end of the movie.
Oh, it's fun.
It's so funny. And then 16 rounds later, they're literally sitting down in like a foot of snow above them, and they can't even move, and they're trying to hit each other. And then there's like other scenes that happen in the movie, like other characters are allowed to be funny, like in Laurel and Hardy movies. Like I would attribute this to Hal Roach, because who produced this, he would allow supporting characters to be funny. But you get there's like four guys that are watching the duel, and one of them is like a little person, and they start fighting each other, and then everybody starts fighting, and I was like, what is going on? It's just chaotic. It's silly.
It's very funny.
Now
here's the thing. Yeah. I think it works best at this length.
Oh,
if they tried to make this
it's a perfect 25-minute.
Too much of the same.
No, I laughed really hard a lot in this movie, and I really want to watch it again, actually. But what's interesting in this is that his common law wife was in this movie. Stan's was May Laurel. She played the Countess. She was the wife of the general by James Finlayson. And she was trying to seduce Stan. And there was a great scene where she was trying to seduce him. And if you remember earlier, the peasant girl was like, if you ever feel tempted, look at this picture. And so she's like kissing on him and stuff, and he looks at the picture. He's like, okay, I'm fine. And then she does something to his head, and he rips up the picture and turns over to her. But then she shows up, and he's like, oh, no, wait a minute. I think it was really funny, and it's hard to rate a movie like this, but this is at least a 3.5 for me.
This is hard to rate. I'm going to give it 3.
Yeah,
I found it funny. I believe the Laurel and Hardy version of this, where somehow they're together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of maybe only happening to one of them, but the other one's there.
Yeah.
Is a better movie.
Oh, right. And so Stan Laurel is, if you're very curious about watching, see what Stan was like without Hardy, this is a good one to start, because I've seen some, and some are better than others. This is one of the better ones that I've seen. I thought it was really funny, and also with the inclusion of James Finlayson, thought that was really good. So, all right, and now to our feature film, which is Why Worry. I think I've seen all of Harold Lloyd's silent features. I haven't seen all of his silent shorts, but I've seen all of his silent features. And
this is a silent feature.
It is a silent feature.
All of 63 minutes.
Yeah. Now this is interesting because it kind of has like a little bit of a tiny slow build up for like 10 or 15 minutes.
It is weird.
But after the first 15 minutes, it's nonstop gag. Once
the shit starts happening, there's always insanity.
Always insanity.
Always. But you're right. It takes like 15 minutes. And
right.
Like,
so
this seems to be slightly slow for what I expected.
His more popular films, The Safety Last and The Freshman and Speedy, are pretty highly regarded. This one's not talked about as much. Now, he was working for Hal Roach here. This was his last film that he made with Hal Roach. After this, he started producing his own films.
Okay.
But yeah, this was the last one he made for Hal Roach. So he plays Harold Van Pelham. So his name is usually Harold, I think, in these movies. And he plays a rich aristocrat, whatever. We don't know why he's rich, but he's rich. But he's the super paranoid hypochondriac. He thinks he's just dying all the time. He's got a nurse and a butler always at his aid.
I was confused how he had WebMD before internet existed.
Right.
He apparently had it.
So his doctor, maybe just to get him out of his hair, to just go, hey, go on a cruise, go to the tropics.
You need better air.
Yeah.
Which is a thing that people would be told a shit ton. How do we know? Well, there was a Stan Laurel movie we watched earlier.
He said go to Honolulu.
I mean, he was lying, but it was a thing that everybody believed. Okay.
So Harold Lloyd goes to it's Paradiso, which is obviously a made-up country, or And
are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
You thought that other thing was
I know, I'm pretty sure. But it was off the small island of the coast of Chile.
Maybe. I think
that's what it says. Yeah. Once
it might be a real place.
So he goes there, but so obviously when they're on the ship, before they get there, they kind of set this up. It's not bad. It's not funny because it's just setting it up. And so it's setting up Harold being this hypochondriac guy, and then you also have the girl, the nurse, who's played by Jobina Rosta as Harold's nurse, and she.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And they're always making googly eyes at each other, so they obviously are fond of each other and like each other.
Into him.
Yeah. And he is.
That's she went full Florence Nightingale on him. Okay,
he is though until like his heart starts racing. I'm like, oh no, I can't look at you.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
My blood pressure. Yeah. My blood pressure. As soon as he gets to the country, it is just one misunderstanding after another. And for the first half of the movie, Harold Lloyd is completely oblivious that there's a revolution going on in this country.
He doesn't have any. He doesn't know.
Right. He finds out later.
He does. He finds out the hard way because revolution happens right around him.
Yeah. Well, so he accidentally, and the way he arrives into the country is really funny because he's on a gurney, right? And they're like wheeling him off. His butler gets jumped by a bunch of guys, and that's a running gag through the whole movie. Is that every time you see the butler, he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, I was just attacked by people, and then Harold Lloyd leaves him, and then he gets attacked again. But anyways, the butler gets attacked, and the gurney flies down, and so you find out before Harold Lloyd gets there that there's this really skeevy dude who is trying to take over the country, and he's just like and he's got like the mustache. He's also pretty creepy looking with his eyes. He's got some creepy eyes.
They back then the
villains are great.
Could make people fucking creepy looking.
So
I'm kind of wondering if they just hired creepy motherfuckers.
Yeah. So the way he arrives in the country, so the bad guy's talking about how we need a patsy, we need someone to come in here and for the revolution. And all of a sudden, Harold Lloyd shows up in his gurney. He steps off and he grabs a guy's cigarette and he starts smoking it. And he's like, "Oh, thank you." And you're like, they're not your servants, but he treats everyone like they're his servants.
He's a hypochondriac, but he does smoke.
Yeah. Like a chimney.
Oh, he smokes fucking tons.
Yeah. Through the whole movie.
I'm confused. And then I'm like, oh, wait, Surgeon General's warning, not a thing yet. So come on, you're breathing the smoke. Figure it out. Okay.
1923. So then he's like, hey, I got hurt on the head. Like a pot falls on him, and he's like, I need to get to the nearest hotel. So he's trying to get to this nearest hotel. It gets mixed up where he thinks someone is waving at him to bring him to a hotel, but he's just waving at the guy behind him. He starts running at this guy, and he's going all over the place looking for the hotel. Meanwhile, the girl, the nurse, she gets kidnapped by the bad guy. And then and the bad guy has really nasty things that he wants to do to her. She ends up getting away and like dresses up as one of the peasants and hides out in a house. Now Harold Lloyd finally gets arrested because he thinks he's being taken to a hotel, but they're like, just go kill him. And he's like, oh, thank you. And so it's a military escort to go to the hotel, but he ends up going to prison. So he's in prison, and in prison he meets this Neanderthal giant guy. Oh. That guy is fucking awesome.
And he's also legit one of the biggest human beings I've ever fucking seen.
He had to have been like 7'5" or
he's
something.
So big.
He was like 8 feet tall.
I looked him up afterwards.
Yeah.
And it legit says he's like one of the top mighty 3 people ever to act.
Leo White, the mighty Herculeo. It's Colosso. Sorry, I was wrong.
He was from Minnesota.
Yeah. John Asen. And there he is.
God damn it, that's ridiculous.
He was 8'9".
That's hard to believe.
No, I believe
it.
The
tallest ever is 8'11".
Do you believe?
I thought he was.
No.
I mean, in that picture, he looks huge, but also we don't know if that's a fucking little tiny dude he's next to. But no, he was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah. He died at the age of 48, 1938.
It says 7'3" there.
That was his mom was 7'3".
Holy Jesus! Okay, that dude was fucking big.
Yeah. According to the Guinness World Records,
it talks about the guy here. He's 8 feet 11 and a half inches, the tallest ever.
Yeah.
This guy isn't that far behind him.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I did not know that this guy was that big.
So he meets this guy who is an enemy of the bad guy or whatever. He kind of becomes friends with him because he has a toothache, and that's the only reason why they could arrest him, because he was distracted by his toothache. So that's why this guy's in prison. Harold Lloyd's just like, hey, why don't you help me escape? What I think is great is that everyone is afraid of this guy. But
I'm afraid of him.
But Harold Lloyd just treats him like a normal dude.
Yeah.
And I think he's like, oh, okay, and so he ends up liking Harold Lloyd.
I think there's a chance that Harold Lloyd's just terrified of everybody, so he's just used to it.
But
he doesn't care. He has no more fear for anybody who's actually scary.
I think he's more afraid of his ailments than it is of people. Yeah,
that's why he doesn't care.
So anyway, this guy gets him out of prison, and he like shoves him out the window, and then he just busts out through the window. What happens is he ends up kind of becoming a hero of the revolution. Once Harold Lloyd discovers that there's a revolution going on, he's like, wait a minute, no. You can't have a revolution because of my health. You can't. My heart can't handle it, so you have to cancel it. And then so they start attacking him, and Colosso, he just starts clubbing all those guys.
He beats up entire cities.
At one point, he picks up a fucking tree and starts whacking people. And I'm going to
tell you, in some movies where I've seen, they have to do stuff to make it look like this guy, it doesn't matter how big he is, but he's beating up entire groups. And this, like, no, they just fucking show it, and I'm like, that fucking looks
because it's all master shots and you can see all tough.
That guy's fucking insanely huge.
One of the funniest.
He can walk through everybody and they cannot stop him.
One of the funniest sight gags in this film, when they're trying to get rid of the tooth. He's trying to pull his tooth out. And they're trying all these different things by, having him jump off of a building, putting the tooth and tying it to a horse, tying it to whatever. And then at one point, he just tries to yank it and pull it. And at one point, Harold Lloyd actually climbs on top of the guy. And he's like sideways, like pulling his tooth. And I wish you could just, it's hard to describe it.
It's hard to describe.
But he's literally climbing the guy, insane. Pulling the tooth, the rope. And he's using the rope to climb up the guy trying to pull the tooth out.
This is Harold Lloyd at his finest.
Oh my God.
He will do the insanest shit, and the fact he didn't die 16 times.
It's so fucking funny. And again, and I know I talked about this to you after we watched Safety Last, but you got to remember that he only has 7 fingers.
Oh yeah,
so he lost 2 or 3 of his fingers when he did a publicity shot, still or something with like a bomb, and it ended up being real for some reason, and it blew off like 2 or 3 of his fingers. So in movies, he's wearing a prosthetic glove to make it look like that he has all 5 of his fingers on his right hand, I think.
And he'll have to do stuff like grab things, and he'll have to
and climb
do it in such a way that he looks like his hand is working, and his hand isn't doing shit.
Well, and what's I think great about this movie is that you get Harold Lloyd, who is the spoiled aristocrat guy, and he's not necessarily a piece of shit, but he's a spoiled brat. By the end of the movie, he becomes this hero, and he doesn't do anything
He's just from horniness.
What's great about it?
Horniness hero.
What's great about it though is, and this is what I think, and I'll go into a little bit more Harold Lloyd. But so the end of the movie is he realizes that the guy is going after his girlfriend, and when he realizes that that's happening, he doesn't need his big friend. He doesn't need a gun. He just jumps on the dude and he starts wailing on him. And you're like, holy shit. And he just kicks this guy's ass. Then all the other guards start coming and he starts beating them up. The Colosso had to come in and help him there, but he was still going. And seeing this guy who was afraid of stuff and was like afraid of his heart, and he ends up overcoming that, his anxieties and stuff. And me struggling with anxiety, it's kind of fun to watch something like this. And you end up, at least for me, I end up rooting for him. I'm like, I want him to kick all these guys' ass. There's a great scene when the villain takes the the nurse, onto a balcony. He's on the other balcony across the way. He has Colosso rip the balcony off of his hinges and carry him over.
It's another one of those
he carries
things
the whole
where
balcony.
I'm assuming that was some type of prop thing, but it just looks fucking
How
real.
the fuck did they do that? And
it looks like that guy can do it, is the reason.
Oh, yeah. And he carries them over. And there's also some great sight gags, too, when the army of the opposing sides are coming, and they're like, they have to fool them that they have an army. So they take this ladder, and they, like, chop it in half, and it looks like that there's a bunch of guns, like an army with a bunch of guns with bayonets showing.
Yeah, I remember that.
I thought that was funny. And then they have this cannon, but they ran out of cannons. So they start throwing coconuts through there and start hitting with coconuts.
Or coconuts will kill you.
But before that, though, remember that he gets that cannon. They find that cannon and they strap it to Colossal in his back. And every time they're going to shoot someone, they just have Colossal bend over.
He's a fucking tank.
They
turn him into an actual fucking tank.
It's so funny.
This movie should be talked about more because
it's so fucking great.
It is fucking insane.
No, I think it's a really good movie. It's one of his best movies, and I think if you watch the first 10 minutes, hold on, because if you're like, oh man, this movie's slow, hold on. After it gets past the 15-minute mark, it does not stop.
It does not
stop. As soon as he arrives in that country, it's one misunderstanding after another, one sight gag after another, and it's just craziness and insanity. And now this is what separates like Harold Lloyd. So when people say, who do you like better, Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton? Because a lot of people don't know who Harold Lloyd is. And I always go, Harold Lloyd's my favorite. Because Harold Lloyd, now I like all three of them. I think they're geniuses. But with Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton, he's kind of the stone-faced guy. He's a weirdo. You don't really identify with him.
He's the one where stuff happens around him.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yes. Now, Charlie Chaplin, he's a goofy character. He's kind of a jerk in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
Because he kind of is an instigator a little bit. Charlie Chaplin is. Now, with Harold Lloyd, he is an everyday person, like someone you would meet on the street. He's got his short hat and you got your rimmed glasses. He looks like an ordinary person, but he does extraordinary things. And if you actually look at the box office receipts from the 20s, his movies made more money in the 20s than Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. He was more popular because I feel like that audiences identified with him more.
But I feel
and they want to root for him.
I feel like weirdly the other two guys became more household names.
I'll tell you why. The reason why that is Harold Lloyd. He did a couple sound movies, and I guess they were successful. I haven't seen them. He kind of retired in the 30s. He made one more film in the 40s. He owned all of his features. And he didn't let anybody see him. So when they were having...
That's weird.
Well, he didn't release them. Like, so all these... like,
so his things aren't lost either. It's like a Mary Pickford
You're
thing.
right. Well, so what happened was Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, they didn't own their films. Throughout the years, they were shown, like in the 40s. They were shown in the 50s. They were shown in, like, revivals.
So as much as it sounds like it was kind of bad for them, at the time, it made them more famous.
It did.
Because anybody could see them.
Right. And so a lot of the stuff were public domain. So Harold Lloyd's movies weren't publicly made available till the early 2000s.
That's crazy.
I didn't see my first Harold Lloyd movie till 2003.
Weird, because
or 2002.
Did they literally have to wait until like?
I believe it was his estate, and I believe it was one of either his daughter or granddaughter
just said,
released the films. And so
movies.
I have the Harold Lloyd collection because I bought it in 2003 when it came out because I want to see all his movies.
So you had seen this one?
Yeah, I've seen it now, but I didn't see any of his movies till 2003.
Oh wow!
And
I didn't see any of his movies until Safety Last.
That's right. and I think they need to be rediscovered because I think they're so good. They're so funny.
Safety Last, because I knew Safety Last was
so
one
I believe
talked about.
They would probably show that at like revivals, but it was never on home video.
Oh, weird.
You couldn't find it anywhere to watch.
Because I remember all the imagery. Of
I would say
the
that
clock and all that stuff.
TCM would probably show it, but they weren't available.
Okay.
You couldn't buy it. You couldn't rent it. So it wasn't until then. But anyways, yeah, Harold Lloyd is just a genius, and I love his stuff. This is a 4-star movie for me. I really like it.
I'm going to go 3.5.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's really funny.
I would recommend. Yes, Safety Last is great.
No, I mean, that's probably the best. Safety Last is probably his best movie.
Maybe like one notch below it, if that.
Oh, if that. No, yeah.
Really,
they're both 4-star movies for me.
There is shit in this that you will not. Here's the thing: we kind of spoiled the whole tank thing.
That's so fucking.
But the moment that shit happened, I was like, "Holy shit!" Mostly because that guy legit feels like he could do that. Because it looks like it's happening.
And he's terrific in the movie, too.
He's
terrific. So fun to watch.
It does say here, though, that Cardiff Giant guy was originally cast.
Yeah.
And he died the day before he was going to fly
away. He was a Ringling Brothers giant.
So they had to find this guy as a replacement.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
That's crazy.
They had to do a nationwide publicity campagin to find his replacement, and they found him in Minnesota, Minneapolis.
And there was a newspaper article about his giant shoes, apparently. That's how they found him.
But anyways, yes. So that's Why Worry. I'm glad you liked it.
It was great. It was great.
All right, Buster Keaton, have you seen any of his films?
Here's the thing. I'm not certain. I knew I had seen The Kid, but that's a Chaplin. I don't know if I'd ever seen one of these Buster Keaton films.
Now, the thing that's interesting about Buster Keaton is that he like Chaplin, he also directed or co-directed his films. Harold Lloyd, I'm sure he had say in what he did.
Oh, he had to.
But
he had to come up with some of these stuff.
But he technically didn't direct any of the films. He wasn't credited anyways. And that's what they say about Stan Laurel, because Stan Laurel didn't direct any of the Laurel and Hardys, but they say he was kind of a ghost director on most of them, I guess. This was Our Hospitality. Now, I also saw this one on PBS. My dad taped it off of PBS for me. So I saw this one. He taped this one and The General. That's kind of his most famous one.
I'm going to tell you, there's shit in this movie that I fucking loved.
Yay! No!
Movie, it's got some really amazing aspects.
No, I love this movie too. So I've always grown up liking this movie.
God damn it, you see too many of these movies, Austin.
I know. But I like talking about them. So this is a real life feud, I think, is a satire of the real life Hatfield McCoy.
You've never heard of the Hatfield McCoy?
Well, I don't know. Because of this movie, but...
What the fuck? What kind of American are you?
I don't know.
It's one of the most famous American history things, Austin Kennedy. Which really is, I mean, it was a big feud, I guess.
So anyways...
But apparently it was a shit ton
This
of
is
like that
the Canfield and McKay families, and this takes place in the early 1800s. And
that's another weird thing with this.
Yeah.
This takes place in early 1800s. The actual Hatfield McCoy thing took place in like the late 1800s, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways, actually,
you wouldn't know. You don't know shit.
We can click on it and find out. This is 1863 to 1891, so a little later than that. It starts off, you see a young Buster Keaton's character, and that's actually played by his son. That's the little baby, Buster Keaton.
This is when they live in like the Appalachian Mountains or something.
Yeah. And so there's a feud going on, and one of the Canfields is going, I'm going to kill McKay, and it was like, and he goes, and they shoot each other, and then the other Canfield is like, you know what? Let's not do it. I don't think we should do it. And that's played by Joe Roberts. He plays Joseph Canfield. When he finds out that his brother was killed by the Father McKay, he's like, you know what? The feud must go on. So then it's 20 years later, and they send Buster Keaton, who plays Willie McKay, off to New York to stay away from the feud. So he's no knowledge of the feud.
He doesn't even know what the feud is. He has no knowledge.
He's very oblivious to it.
I don't think I think he might have had a different name at that point.
But then there's this great subtitle where it says New York. It brought this a section of Broadway or something, and then you see like a little cornfield or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you're like,
because it's 1830 or 1820.
So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But Buster Keaton is going to claim the McKay estate because for some reason he's going to go claim it. He's like,
he inherited it somehow.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure his father died 20 years ago.
Right.
Well,
my guess it was because he was 21 or something.
I assume that he didn't actually get it until he turned 21.
Yeah. So now he's going there to claim it, and then he meets a girl on the train, and the train is fucking great. So it's like the stagecoach,
the train,
and this train
is mind blowing in this.
It's
the
very
fact that they
creative.
Can do that train shit.
Now, the guy who plays the train conductor, that's Joe Keaton. That's Buster Keaton's dad.
Oh, okay.
So he's the conductor, the engineer in it, and he's pretty funny in the movie too. He meets the girl on the train, and she's just like, I think they kind of hit it off, and she's like, hey, why don't you come to my place for dinner? And he's like, cool. So he's gonna go over there, but then you find out that is the daughter of the Canfields. But he doesn't know anything about it. But then one of the Canfield brothers, so there's the dad who's Joseph, played by Joe Roberts, and then he's got two brothers and a sister. The sister's the one that is in love with Buster Keaton. The other two brothers find out about this and are trying to kill Buster Keaton. But Buster Keaton is totally oblivious to all the attempts on his life, at least for the first half of the movie.
He doesn't seem to have any clue that they're happening.
No.
Well, it's not the first half. Like, it takes for, like, movie is 74 minutes. I think it takes, like, 25 minutes for him to really even get there. That train shit goes on for a while.
It does go on for a long time.
But it's great.
But so the second, third, I guess he's oblivious. Yeah. And then they get there, you know, he meets, like, hey, this is the guy that I met. But then when the dad finds out that is the McKay, the brothers start, like, loading up their guns and like, hey, we can't do it in the house. We have this thing about our brotherhood and our neighborhood. Be kind to our neighbor in our house.
But the moment he goes outside and murders him,
we can shoot him. Okay. Buster Keaton is aware that what's going on. He finds out that this feud has been going on.
He overhears him or something, if I remember.
So then he finds out, this is the Canfield's house. So he tries to get out, but then he realizes that when he's out, he's not safe. Then there's a rainstorm that happens. And he essentially
moves in.
Yes.
Says, I live here now.
Yep.
And you can't fucking stop me.
Right. Okay? So that's what he's trying to do, and at the same time, but the girl doesn't know yet. The sister doesn't know.
She doesn't have any idea what his last name is.
But once he tells her, she's just like, "Oh no, that's terrible." But then she's like, "But
she doesn't care.
She doesn't care. I still love him."
She's not a piece of shit.
No.
Who just murders people because of her last name.
No, not at all. So the last like 20 minutes of the movie is him being chased by the brothers and Joe Roberts, and she's going after him too.
I'm trying to remember. There's at least one time where he does go outside, but he has to like trick them so he can go get like a newspaper or something, and then comes back.
Well, he comes back. Well, that was a funny gag because he's talking to the girl and he's like flirting with her and making kissy faces at her. But the thing is, the brothers are right there, and so he pretends to go outside. They follow him. He comes right back in and starts flirting with her without them around. Yep. So that was a funny gag.
The moment they think he's going outside, they're going to go right outside.
All right.
Because all they're doing is waiting for him to immediately go outside.
Right. So they can kill him. So what Buster Keaton does, so at the end he's trying to escape and stuff. So he like takes part of the train, and he's like, of the train that you saw earlier in the film. There's a scene where the train like almost falls apart, and part of the train goes into the water where he's in the water. And then the girl tries to rescue him, and then she gets in trouble. And there's a great rescue scene where he like grabs her. I mean, it's a dummy, but he still had to do the stunt where he picks up the dummy and goes down the river.
All three of those fuckers could do crazy stunts.
Yeah.
We just talk about Harold Lloyd because the shit was the most insane.
Yeah.
But the other guys would do crazy shit too.
So and that's kind of the premise of the film. And obviously, Joe Roberts finds a change of heart when they get up like secretly married at the end of the movie. Yeah. And Joe Roberts, he plays the villain. His eyes, man, he's the fucking creepy dude. The main Canfield guy.
He is creepy.
Now,
there's a lot. All these movies have got bad guys that are like, fuck, that guy, I don't like that dude. He's a bad person.
There's some sad news in this that I'm always good at giving you sad news. He died like right after this movie was made.
God, wait. There's people in these movies that are dead now, Austin?
Well,
this 100-year-old movie, they're dead now?
That's him.
What terrible news.
He's so great. But Joe Roberts, he actually had a stroke midway through filming, and then he came back, and he seemed to be fine, but then he died like a few months after the filming was done. So yeah, he died.
Thanks, Austin. You're an asshole.
Yay. And now, so what's the difference between Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd? So Buster Keaton, he doesn't necessarily do...
didn't watch a Chaplin. That makes me sad.
We'll get there someday, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Buster Keaton was more meticulous in his gags. So they're more clever and jaw-dropping than laugh out loud funny. You know what I mean? Like, you're laughing out loud during... Well, not that I'm not laughing in this movie, but a lot of the scenes are just like, holy shit, that's fucking amazing. How do they do that?
Yeah, all that train stuff, we only glazed over. Here's the thing.
Look,
I just looked this up online.
Yeah.
You're going to watch 20 minutes of train shit, and you're like, how the fuck did they do shit where, like, the tracks are moving?
Yeah.
Or they're literally just tracks that were built yesterday, and there's an actual fucking train on them.
Well, when they put these, like, those little logs... And then the train track goes over the logs, and they're like boop, 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 like moving over there.
Like, oh my!
And then when they go through that tunnel, it's like it's just the exact same shape of the train. That's how narrow it is.
There's none of that Western shit where people are fighting on top of the train, because then you're dead.
And I guess the closest thing to blackface though would be when they go through the train and then they're covered with soot.
I was wondering when that happened. I was like, is that blackface or is it
just a gag?
You just got dirty.
Yeah.
Didn't do the blackface mouth thing and stuff. No, he just got hit with ash.
Right.
I don't think it was going for blackface.
They could have, but they didn't. They didn't.
Because whenever you see that in classic cartoons where that happens, it's blackface.
Well, because then someone will say "mammy" or something like that. Yeah.
No, he just got dirty because it's a train.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna get ash face. Okay.
No, there's some really great moments in the film, and
especially trains from 1820. That was like the first 3 trains ever. Okay.
So what I really liked what Buster Keaton does, there's some great gags. One of my favorite gags is when there's a running gag of one of the brothers' gun keep jamming. And so, like, he's trying to shoot. Right. He's trying to shoot Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton shows up and he's like, "Oh, let me see what's wrong with your gun." And he's like, "Oh, boom!"
He fixes it, but he empties the rounds, and the guy can't kill him.
Yeah. And he does that a couple times, which is pretty funny. Great. No, I think it's really good, and he's really good at doing pratfalls. Like I said, I don't think his films are as laugh out loud funny, but they're genius when you watch his films.
It's weird because. Yeah, as much as the Harold Lloyd has the crazy stunt stuff, this does have maybe the more clever. Although I tell you, that guy turned into a tank was pretty fucking clever.
Oh, it was really clever. But yeah, just the clever stuff, and then all the stuff with the stream. Now, halfway or towards the end of the movie, when he is like kind of has that rope and he's stuck in he gets something. His rope stuck in the rapids and he's trying to get loose. Once he gets loose and he's like going down the stream, that wasn't supposed to happen. And when he went downstream, they found him later and he was almost pretty much unconscious.
Oh, shit.
So they filmed the rest of it in a set. And you can actually tell when they switch to a set.
Because they didn't want their star to die.
Right.
Okay?
So he's bobbing up and down. He's doing like somersaults over rocks when he's like, and that's obviously on a set. But it's great. But it's funny though.
Because they had this previous time where that happened, like we could run with this.
Yeah.
But we don't want him to die, so we'll do it fake. Okay.
Yeah, and then just the set of that waterfall. Oh, speaking of that, early in the movie when they're looking for him and they blow up that dam and he's just sitting there eating like a sandwich or something, all of a sudden the waterfall starts going and he thinks it's rain, so he puts like the umbrella up,
yeah.
And then the waterfall goes down and then the guys pull ahead and then they can't see him because the waterfall is covering them up. So I thought that was a really
it's very
clever scene. No, it's a great, if you haven't seen Buster Keaton movies, this is not a bad place to start. So
no, it's not a bad place. This is
I feel like
place to start.
Out of all of the comedians though, Buster Keaton's the least consistent.
Oh, really?
There's some movies that are better than others. Some fall a little flat. Okay. For me, there's one called like Go West, which is okay. College is okay.
I think I've heard of Go West.
The General is a masterpiece. My personal favorite of his movies is The Navigator. It's really fun movie. But this is one of his better films. It's a 3.5.
I'm going to go 3. There is a thing I need to mention.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this, he has a bike. Okay?
Oh, that's awesome.
Keep in mind, this is 1820. That was a legit 1820s bike.
There's no pedals.
There's no pedals. You just sit on it and use your feet to Fred Flintstone around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that a joke?
And the way he stops.
I guess it's a joke, but in reality, I looked it up. I'm like, in the history of bicycles, no, that's just what bikes were. Okay?
Well, the way he does the brakes, though, he's like, beep!
Yeah, it was very Fred Flintstone.
Like a cartoon,
like
yeah. No, I thought that was great. That was really good. Right, our next film is The Ten Commandments, Cecil B. DeMille. So you didn't know about this movie.
I knew that there was an original Ten Commandments. I knew that. I did not know how different this movie was from the 50s movie.
Yeah.
Because the 50s movie is like fucking 2.5 hours long, and it's all Moses.
This is almost 2.5 hours as well. Yeah, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Only 40 minutes of this is what I considered to be what I expected.
It's 50. Yeah, the first 50 minutes is what you would expect.
Yeah.
The second half, or the last 2/3 of this movie, is a different movie.
It's different. It takes place in, I'm going to call modern times.
It is modern times. It takes place in the 20s. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a tale. So they have a prologue and a story. The prologue is what you would consider to be the original, kind of like the Moses story. But it really...
which is what the 50s was.
Right. But this one just starts, though, with Moses kind of already being like a prophet guy.
Yeah,
and
he's already mad. The parting of the Red Sea happens in like 12 minutes.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how long is this movie? We're at like the 80 minute. We're like at what I consider to be at least an hour into this movie.
Yeah. So he goes in there and he's like, hey, you got the Pharaoh Ramses, and he warns them like, hey, all this stuff, bad stuff's gonna happen.
I'm gonna kill hundreds of innocent people.
Right.
God's gonna kill droves of innocent children.
Yeah, the firstborn of every child.
Children all over
so
the
his
place.
son dies, and then they chase him, and then the Red Sea parts, and then they get to the thing, and he gets the Ten Commandments, and then That's when everyone starts having that orgy in the golden calf. Well, they kind of did that a little bit in the other one too.
Yeah.
Then
here's the thing: the actual part of the Red Sea in this is pretty cool.
It's like gelatin, but it's fucking awesome.
It's like Jello. It looks good.
Yeah.
It's just like reverse footage, but
Again,
it doesn't matter. It's
right.
cool.
Well, we'll get more into that. I'm just getting to the plot.
Yeah.
So after pretty much that stuff with the golden calf, and he destroys.
Just read Exodus, okay?
When Moses calls on God's power and destroys the calf, then all of a sudden it cuts to a mom reading a Bible. She's
reading about the 10 Commandments.
Yes.
To her adult children.
To her adult children, John and Dan McTavish. And so the rest of the movie is, we already found out what the 10 Commandments are. Now we have to live by them, and they show it through the story of two.
Each one of the commandments would like pop up on the screen.
Oh yeah,
at like when this part happens, and when this part happens, and
yeah. The second half is pretty preachy.
It's real preachy. And also, I'm not even sure if you're supposed to think people are good guys or bad guys.
No,
they're all pieces of shit. Including the people who are preaching the 10 Commandments are actively garbage human beings.
So one is the good brother, who is John, played by Richard Dix. And then you have Dan, who is played by Rod Rakoch or Rakosh, or whatever. And then there's the mom, who's played by Edith Chapman. The brother's like, hey, I want to do whatever I want. I don't care. The
like,
bad Dan.
Fuck your 10 Commandments.
Right. And John's like, what? You can't blaspheme me. What are you doing? And so he pretty much runs off and meets this girl who was she was stealing. She was a beggar. She was like stealing food.
She's a beggar or a streetwalker or something like that.
And he was like, but he's like, you know what? I'm gonna. He like chases her, but he was like kind of poking fun at her. Like he's like, I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, she walks into John's office, and he's just like, oh, come in. I'll feed you, and I'll bring you home.
The whole thing is, he's not actually a horrible human being.
No.
Except for later on when he says, I'm gonna break every one of the 10 Commandments, and I'm like, one of those says don't kill people, okay?
Oh, yeah.
There's at least a couple of those commandments that even I would say, maybe don't do those things.
Yeah. So then what happens, but then Dan ends up, they both love the girl, Mary, and she ends up falling for the more suave, debonair, whatever, jerk face guy, Dan.
Jerk face guy, the rich one.
Yep.
Also he ends up rich.
Yep.
Well, fake rich.
Yeah.
Trump rich.
So because the other guy's a carpenter, and then John is the good one.
Of course he's a carpenter.
Yeah.
Even though it's what the 10 Commandments, they still got to throw a carpenter in there.
He's Jesus.
Even though it's literally, the Jesus shit is literally the antithesis of the 10 Commandments story. Okay?
What Dan does, he has his own contracting thing, and they're building this church, right?
Yes.
They end up using like this
shitty cement.
City cement that's going to pretty much disintegrate.
It's just garbage. It's like half the stuff you're supposed to use.
Right.
It's all dirt and no water.
Right, but they're like, you know what?
Water and no dirt.
If when it happens, though, we'll just blame my brother since he's the one that's actually making the building.
Yes.
So they're pretty much gonna have put the blame on him.
He is garbage. He is shitty. Actually, the good brother, is probably the least terrible of the three.
He is the least terrible.
Because the mother is garbage. She's
a shitty
person.
Yeah. Really.
She's always lecturing.
Yeah.
And she's always screaming, and she's mad because her son wants to not go to church, I guess. Also, apparently wants to kill people.
Right. What happens is the mom ends up dying because she's in the church when the church starts collapsing.
Yes.
She walks in
there. That was the kill he did.
Yes.
Killed his own mother through idiocy.
Right. And he's pretty upset about that, but then...
He's mostly upset that now he's not going to be rich anymore.
Right.
He is a piece of shit, okay?
Right. But now he's out of money and all that stuff, and then there's just stuff going on, and then there ends up being a confrontation between the brothers, yada. Because he tries to escape on, get a load of this, the boat was called the Defiance, which was like, ooh. And then he gets on there.
I think, here's the thing. There's a chance that it's got a boat and it happened to be called that. Okay?
Right.
Or maybe they renamed it.
But he ends up crashing anyways. Mary, is, pretty upset about this.
By the way, of course
her name is Mary. So then what happens is he reads this book to her, or the Bible, the New Testament of the Jesus healing the lepers. The light shows Mary's hands are not scarred, and da-da-da, and then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, I believe in God, too, if magic happened.
Right.
Okay.
So, obviously you're having problems with the preachiness
of this stuff. Is so preachy. And here's the thing. I wasn't super looking forward to it, just because I knew a lot of the Moses story is just...
So
they skip over all of the 7 plagues, except for the eldest firstborn son thing.
They don't have the frogs.
They don't have any of the other horrible things that God apparently did. They did leave in the one that was by far the worst and killed the most innocent people.
Yeah.
Okay?
So, I don't agree with all this. I'm not religious. I'm going to say this because, you know me, I'm a film geek.
You're a movie person, so you're looking at this as a movie.
I'm
looking at this as made by human garbage.
It is, out of the movies that we watched, it's the best directed of the movies. I really think it is.
Yes. No, I have a hard time disagreeing with that.
Sesame DeMille is a really talented filmmaker. He knows where to place a camera.
Yeah.
The opening shit when it opens with the Pharaoh and they're fucking having the ropes and they're wheeling in like the Sphinx.
Oh yeah.
Like that.
There's shit in this.
The sets in that.
I didn't understand how they could pull that off.
Holy shit, those sets are. It looks like they actually took a time machine and filmed it. I don't know how the fuck they did that. Like how they build the sets.
Austin, time machines aren't real.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. That's not true.
Except for our time machine.
Except for our podcast, yeah. No, but that's what it looks like they did.
There are some amazing sets in Rosita, but they pale in comparison to the sets in this.
Oh, absolutely. I think even this more than Hunchback. Like the sets in this.
The sets are better in this. Hunchback has better.
Oh, I think so.
Looking stuff.
Yeah.
The people look better.
Right.
And by better, I mean more horrific. Okay.
But just even walking in Ramsay's throne room and seeing like this huge fucking statue that looks like it's 100,000 feet tall. It's like, how the fuck did they get that?
Yeah.
How did they film that? How did they build that? It's crazy.
I'm sure he's used 4%
and then
of shit.
when they were racing to the Red Sea. It looks like they had like 500,000 extras. Like, how the fuck did they do that?
That's because they did it, Austin.
And
it was computers, Austin.
Right.
It was computers.
Exactly. And so when you watch something like this now, obviously it's going to be CG people.
Because it's literally dangerous to have literally 500 people run around, Austin.
In the desert.
In the desert. It's going to kill
And
people.
then when they did,
Matter of fact, I would not be surprised if they just didn't tell you that 5 people died in the making of this
The special
movie,
effects were really cool. I really liked, my favorite special effects were when he was creating the Ten Commandments and the sparks would shoot out and the commands would just shoot out.
Yeah, that was cool.
It looked so fucking cool.
I'm not ripping on the making of this movie.
So
I am ripping on the fact, and they apparently learned this. Nobody gave a shit about that modern shit.
No.
Nobody, after this movie, nobody ever gave a shit about that. Because all that stuff just looks like a fucking movie.
Well, you know what, though? There's some really good stuff in that, too. So
yeah,
I really like...
nothing compared to the fucking Exodus shit.
That shot when the building collapses on their mom, that's fucking awesome.
I think they just killed an old lady. Okay?
It looks so... Because it was a really long master shot. You saw this little figure in the distance, and then, bam, it just goes over. I was like, holy shit, that looks incredible. Another shot I really like, too, and this is what I was saying. You were saying the camera doesn't move a lot in this episode. So I would say the camera moved a lot in this film. They would move it a lot more.
Other ones, they would cheat it.
Yeah.
That'd be about it.
But like the scene, like when she goes up to talk to John on top of the building, right? Because, she went up there because she's mad because he's like, the other guy's going off with a mistress or whatever. There
was like a weird love triangle, yeah.
There was a weird love triangle. So which I couldn't care that much about. I just loved the filmmaking of it. So when she goes up in that pulley system of the elevator going up to, on the girders for the building in progress being built, there's like a point of view shot of her looking up as the camera or as the elevator is going up and you see him like looking down. So cool. Like all that stuff was great. Yes, I actually enjoyed watching the film because I loved the whole spectacle of it. All the stuff was preachy and stuff, but I was just like, whatever. I knew it was going to be a Ten Commandments movie, but so I didn't.
I mean, part of it is I was going into this and I'm like, this Ten Commandments, this is just going to be the other Ten Commandments, but black and white and not quite as good looking, but still probably pretty damn good looking. And then 1/3 of the way through the movie, I'm like, what just happened? Because also going up to that part, I'm like, this movie's going really fast. Is this going to have like other Bible shit later or something? Because all the Ten Commandments shit is done now. It's 45 minutes in, and the movie is done, but there's still an hour and a half of movie left, okay?
I actually don't like the 56 version. I think it's not good.
I've never seen it. I did.
It's not good.
I looked up stuff afterward. After we got back, I looked up stuff real quick, and I'm like,
it's funny.
It's pretty, and it's in color. Okay?
I think it's funny, though.
It does have Chuck Heston, but also he's playing a guy who's supposed to be like, I guess it's Moses, so 800 years old or some bullshit.
I think this is weird because they're 30 years apart. This ages better than the other one. as far as the special effects,
the old stuff does.
All of the Red Sea stuff, it looks better in this movie, I think, than in the 56 version.
I looked up the Red Sea parting. It looks pretty fucking
I don't know. I really like the one. I
don't know. I liked this. I thought it was cool, but then I made sure I looked.
There's
up
a lot more. There's a lot more green screen and stuff or blue screen or whatever they use.
The thing is, it has Heston standing there, doing his thing in the 56 one.
The guy who played Moses was okay in this,
which is done the same way. It's just reverse footage. Okay.
So the guy who played Moses in this was Theodore Roberts. He looked a lot like character actor Keenan Wynn in this movie, but
your names. I don't know these people.
Keenan Wynn. Yeah, this is what it looked like. Anyways,
it's just a lot of it is. Yeah. Yes, I actually, as much as I was like, whatever, it's gonna be this. At least it'll be cool looking and stuff. And then it went so fast, and then it was done, and I'm like, I have to watch an hour and a half of shit that happens in real time, or people are going to be preaching at me, and everybody's just fucking stupid. I fucking hate these people.
Oh,
but I'm not saying it was badly made.
Yeah.
It kind of just didn't.
Yeah.
A part of it is I just didn't expect that.
Yeah.
This is the 10 Commandments. Why is this taking place in 1920?
So I knew it was coming. So I saw this maybe 15 years ago. But yeah, I actually prefer this to the other one, the Tribe.
Here's the thing. I probably would also, because the other one is really fucking long.
Yeah,
and it's all Moses.
It is all Moses.
As much as I was shitting about the preaching in this, at least the preaching periodically just has a guy being nice to a lady. Okay?
Yeah.
And that shit's happening. In the other 10 Commandments, yes, it's going to be all Moses.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Moses making speeches after speeches, and then they run. And then all the oldest die, and all the other plagues happen, and then they go through the Red Sea thing. Oh. And then there's a bunch of shit after Red Sea with the actual commandments happening.
Remind me of sort of the Red Sea part when the Pharaoh gets all his men to chase him on there's so many fucking chariots. I don't know how many fucking chariots they got.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then when they're going, and this obviously couldn't have been planned or filmed, or maybe it was. I don't think it was. But when they're like going down like the desert hill with the chariot and the fucking they start tumbling.
I'm pretty sure like 6 horses died in this movie.
I was like, holy shit!
There were so many times where they did horrible things to horses.
I was like, well, there goes that horse. The horse and the chariot.
All four
tumbling over.
All 4 of the legs on that horse are broken.
It was nuts, but
like, holy shit!
So just for the spectacle of it, I'm going to give it a 3. I enjoyed watching it, and I would watch it again because I just think the pure spectacle. And I really like the direction of the film, so I will watch
bits and pieces of this for some of the interesting. But luckily, this one's on YouTube, and it's a pretty damn solid copy.
Okay.
So whatever, I give 1.5.
1.5. You have anything else to say about that one?
I can't think of anything.
Okay, I just didn't know.
Let's see.
Looked like you had a bunch of notes you're ready to fucking.
Actually, this is the only one I have a lot of notes on.
Holy shit.
You do remember Vice Squad, right?
Yeah,
I had a lot of notes on that too, because it mostly made me mad and I had to yell at it.
1.5 on this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That was our trip to LA.
We did it. We went to 1923.
Yes.
Los Angeles.
Yes, you said it right.
Los Angeles. Don't worry. You'll say the better time thing wrong later. So it's next time.
See you next time. My favorite movie was Why Worry. That's the best movie.
My favorite movie. Let's take a look at movies again. I like Our Hospitality a lot.
You give that a 3 to give the other 3.5. Unless you bump up Our Hospitality.
It is Why Worry.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Hospitality is probably the second best movie.
What did I give Hunchback?
You give it 3.5. If you give it a 3, you give it a 3.5.
I'm gonna give it to Hunchback.
Oh, really? You really like that? That was your favorite. It is good.
It's a special movie, dude.
It is special. It is good. Yeah, no, Why Worry is my favorite for sure.
I hope I gave it 3.5.
I think I don't know.
I can't remember.
Keaton, where are you? No,
Keaton, he would know. Useless.
Yeah, best actor is hard to do. It's hard. You're gonna give Lon Chaney.
It's Lon Chaney. That's the easy one. It's the best actress is gonna be hard.
I would do that. Actress.
It's probably Mary Pickford.
I'm trying to think.
Best actress. Let me take a look. I mean, here's the thing. The 10 Commandments bitchy old lady was really good at it.
Oh, the mom?
The mom?
Oh, yeah, she was good.
She was good at it, but I'm still giving it to Mary.
So supporting an actor, I'm actually going to give it to, I got to give it to the guy, John Asen, the Colossal.
He is good.
He's so fucking good.
Who was the other one? The guy who I said.
The King that was really good in Rosita.
The King was really fucking good.
In Rosita, I really liked him in it.
The King was really good and Ski.
And that was Holbrook Blinn. Holbrook Blinn.
Yeah, he's got a Wikipedia page, so apparently he had a career.
There he is.
That's him.
He died.
There he is, as Chief Rain in the Face. Oh.
In a play.
Oh, he's in Red Face.
He died 5 years after that.
Oh, wow.
1873, 1928.
The fact that we just watched a bunch of movies of people born actually only slightly after the Civil War is crazy.
Yeah, Mary Pickford, she was born 1892. Yeah, so.
I mean, I'm trying to think. It's 1820. Is 1923?
Yeah. No
main people in this are going to be born. Because Harold Lloyd was playing like a 20-year-old, but I'm sure he was 30.
Yeah. I think so. Let's see, how old was he in this? 1893 he was born. Yeah. So
yep.
he was actually 30 in that. Yeah.
I'm good, Austin.
He died at 77 in 1971. So he did.
Maybe it's just these old pictures make people look terrifying.
A supporting actress.
The mother.
Oh, in that one? I'm going to give it to the mom in Ten Commandments. Probably.
Yeah, she's good too. But the mom.
Yeah.
At the Ten Commandments, is there even what do we call a lead in that? There's two movies there. With no overlapping actors.
No. All right,
but no, I'm giving it to mom.
Yeah. What did you think of watching these silent movies? It was kind of fun because you're not used to watching silent films.
I'm not used to it.
Like I said, I've seen about 60 of them.
Next time, if we're going to go back in time and watch 12 hours of silent movie, I have to bring some meth or something so I can stay awake a little bit. Bring something along that keeps me awake.
Well, it's I love watching silent movies because it's just, like I said, it's almost a different medium than the film that we know today.
It is.
It's very different. And you have to watch it differently.
You can see where they got ideas. It also has the thing, because we've also watched stuff from the early 30s.
Yeah, which they had to reinvent film.
They had to reinvent how the voice stuff. And at that point, there were still people who were still acting like they did in the silent movies.
Yeah.
Even though they don't fucking need to anymore.
No.
Okay?
No, it was interesting. So next week, we're going to be it's going to be a season finale. And we're going back in time to, because what did we do last season? We went to see Star Wars. We didn't go see Star Wars.
Fucking Star Wars.
Sorry, we went back in time to Star Wars came out. So we're going back in time to when May 25th, 1980, when Empire Strikes Back.
It's like the 23rd.
Is it 23rd?
I think so. Because it was the 25th for 77. 3 years later, that's not going to be a Wednesday anymore.
You are probably right, sir.
I think it was the 23rd, but I'm not 100% sure.
You're right. It's the 21st.
21st. Okay.
So May 21st, 1980, the day that Empire Strikes Back came out, and we're not going to see it.
No.
So
I've seen it 90 times.
Just in case anyone wants to be a stowaway, we're not going to see the Empire Strikes Back.
Austin, here's the thing. This episode isn't going to come out between now and then. That doesn't work. Okay?
Shit.
This episode comes out months from now. Okay? Months.
Yeah.
Well after we record the next episode.
Also, I want to do a little shout out. A while ago, so by the time this episode airs, it's probably been a little over a month. I guest starred on a podcast called The Church of Tarantino.
Yes, you did.
I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan, and I saw kind of a ad for like, hey, I'm looking for people to be on my podcast, but he was looking for fellow podcasters. So I showed him my podcast, and he was like, oh, let's have you on. It's the 30th year of Pulp Fiction, so we talk about Pulp Fiction. So it's all those pulpy ingredients is the name of the episode.
Yours is that premise is the exact opposite of our premise.
Yeah.
You sort of travel back in time to that date, and then all you talk about is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
For 2 hours.
Right. So we talk about Pulp Fiction, but we talk about 5 movies that influenced Pulp Fiction on that episode. So that's what we talked about on that. So, and then I'm going to be airing probably in a month. I will be on for Quentin Tarantino's birthday. I'm going to be on again. So check out The Church of Tarantino. It's a really good. I would highly recommend it. So, and then if you want to follow us on Instagram, send hate mail to filmgeektimemachine@gmail.com. That's it. I'm your host, Austin Kennedy.
I'm Tim Kaiser, your other guy.
And we'll see you next time.
Correct.
Yes.
That one I'll let you have.
Okay, I hammed it up.
You did.
But,
have you met me, Austin? Ham is delicious.
Yay, ham is delicious. The end. Goodbye.